Hi there, thanks for joining me today for my Monday mashup. My name's Jo and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator based in the UK. Today we're going to be making this cute little card. Now this is a new set which is coming in the Spring Summer Catalogue, which actually releases on the 5th of January, so we've not got long now. And it's called Snailed It. I must admit, when I first saw this set, I thought, oh, I'm not sure whether I'll actually use that. But the more I looked at it, the more I saw how cute they actually were. And of course, inevitably, I had to buy it. So I hope you're going to like sort of what we're doing today. We're going to mash up a couple of techniques today. So we're going to be doing some sponging with some new tools that we've got coming from the catalogue as well. And also using our stamping blends and how I've put this together. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. So as I say, this is called Snailed It, and we're going to be using this snail here, these mushrooms, and then this greeting and this little heart. So we've used 4 of the little stamps on there, and it's a set of 8 this, so it's got quite a nice little mix. I do quite like this little speech bubble. I thought that was quite cute. So anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off with our background. Now, I'm using some new products today, which are, I must confess, these aren't Stampin' Up's version because I already had these, but these are almost identical to what we've got coming, and they are absolutely brilliant. You're going to love them. So we need a card base to start with. So I've opted for Real Red here, and this is a normal standard A6 card. So this is 21 centimetres by 14.85, and it's scored at 10.5 just to give us our card base. And then the actual white layer, which is where we're going to be doing our colouring, is just half a centimetre smaller. So that's 14.35 by 10 centimetres wide. And that is just Whisper White I'm using here. So this is where we're going to start. And then these are the brushes that I've talked to you about. So as I say, these aren't actually Stampin' Up! Ones because I haven't been able to get those as yet, but hopefully they'll be with me fairly shortly. But these are what I had in my collection anyway. And as you can see, they're very, very soft bristles, which means that the ink actually really sort of flows really softly. So the trick is to handle them quite softly and not actually put too much pressure on, because you can still get some little marks if you put too much pressure on them. So I'm going to show you how to avoid that. As I say, the Stampin' Up! Ones are roughly about this size. This is Bumblebee I've used on here, but yeah, they're about this size, and there's 3 in a pack. So you know, I think you're going to love them. They've got like a flexible arm, so when you're sponging, the arm sort of flexes backwards and forwards, and also you can do a little bit more detailed sponging, which I'll show you as well. So I'm going to start off with the green. Now I am using Granny Apple Green for this, so it's just our standard classic stamping pad, and I'm going to just pick up some ink. Now when you first use these, obviously because they're clean, you have to sort of season them a little bit, so you might sort of have to sort of build up the colour on them to get to where you want to be. So what I'm going to do is, like any sponging, you want to start off your page. So I'm going straight onto this surface because I can wipe this. So I'm going to start on here just to take off any harsh little bits that you might have, because when you've sort of dabbed it into your ink or wiped it across your inks layer, you can sometimes get like little sort of specks. So I'm just taking it off the page to start with, and then I'm gradually going to start building this in. Now, as I say, you want to do this really softly. You don't want to be putting too much pressure on it. It's better to build it up really, really slowly rather than try and sort of go in with a full colour. And every time you add some more ink, you want to again start off the edge of the page and then gradually start working it in. Now I tend to sort of go in both directions because then that makes an even sort of smoother layer that's going down. I'm sorry if the desk is wobbling this a little bit. So I'm just building it up. Now I want to go up sort of just probably just below the hearth. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to add any more ink to this, and I'm just going to do that sort of upper part, because there'll be sufficient ink just to lay a nice sort of thin layer onto that. And then what we'll do is we'll build up this colour here. So I'm just going to add some more ink, again, off my page, and then I'm going to start building up this colour. So again, you can just pick up your ink off your page as well. Don't be afraid to sort of, you know, keep picking this up, because it will just build up the colour. So that's coming along nicely now, but what I want to do is I want it a little bit darker at the bottom. So what I tend to do is I then tend to hold my brush by the sides, because then I can put a little bit more pressure on. I don't need to worry too much about the lines, because we've got a nice even covering now. And that just means I have a little bit more control over where that colour is going, because when you're doing it with the brush just as it is, obviously it's a little bit freer. So by doing this, I can put on a little bit more pressure, so I can build up that lovely green. Okay, so I'm quite happy that I've got enough colour on there now. So now what I want to do is, first of all, I need to just clear off this green, or the very worst of it. I'm going to treat myself to a new wipe. As I say, it just brings that, picks up that colour. So that's obviously a little bit wet at the moment, so I'm going to leave that for a second just to dry. But while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm actually going to stamp my first toadstool. So this is the toadstool which has actually been cut out and mounted on top, but I want to stamp it so that I can get some of these details and here underneath, okay? So for that, I'm obviously using the toadstool stamp, and I'm also using black memento, because we're going to be using Stampin' Blends on this. And I just want to ink it. And as you can see, it's sort of in the middle, virtually to the left very slightly. So I've got my toadstools there, and as I say, we're going to do some more of that in a second. So I'm going to bring in a piece of scrap white. So this is just normal Whisper white, and I want to stamp 2 of the toadstools. Got really, really good fine lines on these, so they work really, really well. Okay, and I also want to stamp 2 of the snails. Now the reason I'm doing 2 is that the top part of the snail is actually placed onto dimensional, so it's sort of a little bit higher. I'm just going to stamp 2 of those. There we go. Now hopefully my desk is dry enough. I'm going to put that to one side to dry, and I'm going to bring in my paper again, and this time I'm going to be using Bumblebee. So this was one of our new in colours for last year, which is really quite popular. I love it. It does give a really nice sort of deep, it's like an orangey yellow. It's yeah, it's really pretty. So again, I'm just picking up some of that ink. I'm working on the desk first, and I'm just going to smooth it across this top. And again, I'm just going down to just before the halfway. And incidentally, these brushes wash up really, really well. So although they will stain slightly, you can just wash them and use them for different colours. So, you know, they're a really good sort of buy just to add to your sort of sponging pieces, because I know some of my customers sometimes struggle with the sponges because they've got like an openness to them. Sometimes they struggle to get a nice smooth finish, where and also with the daubers they're a little bit the same. So this is actually a really nice way of getting a really soft, smooth ink in. And again, I'm just, while that ink is really light, I'm just bringing that into that center. So I'm just having a little section just in the middle. So again, I'm just going to add some more. So this is, as I say, Bumblebee. So I'm just holding my actual brush now, just so that I can have a little bit more control and I can just darken that top section. So there we go. So I'm quite happy with that. So I'm just going to move that out of the way. And again, just have a quick dry of my desk. Okay, so this is our actual piece here. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to colour these green leaves in here. So as I say, these are done separately, and then I've mounted them on top because it's quite hard to get the intensity of the colours, and especially because I wanted this sort of softer colour on the stalks and on the grills of the actual mushrooms themselves. So we're going to put that to one side while that dries, and I'm going to move on to my snails. So first of all, I've used, for the snail's body, I've actually used soft suede. So this is light and dark soft suede, and I'm going to colour them both because I want to be able to cut one out. So I like to colour the underneath one, although some say it's a bit of a waste. I prefer to colour it because I find that it that way, if you sort of look at it from the side, you've got the colour running the whole way through. So if I hold this up, if this was white, you'd kind of see it. So I tend to try and do this way. Now, the other thing, of course, is that if you go wrong on one, you've got a spare. So that's always good. But secondly, you kind of, you've got one to practice on, and you know, you can use the other parts for a different card or something like that. So I'm just laying down some, as I say, soft suede. So I've done soft suede top and bottom, and now I'm just going to try and bring in those colours together so that these blend really nicely. So at the moment they're not blending, so if you go over the top of everything, and particularly on those edges, you'll find that they will start to blend really nicely together. And you can add layers, so you can add a little bit more if you want to, or a little bit less. It's entirely up to you. I tend to start dark, go in with a bit of light, and then I come back in with a little bit more dark, and just by blending all these colours together, you can kind of get them to sort of sit really nicely. Now, as you can see, I have gone over the edges a little bit on here. I'm not really taking much care in what I'm doing here because this is going to be my base one. Sorry, this is going to be my top one, so I'm going to cut him out. Now, this is going to be my base one, so I don't want to go over the edges too much because I want to be able to cut him out and not see those. So I'm going to take a little bit more care on this one here. And I tend to use the small end because I just find you have a little bit more control over it. If you do go over the edges though, don't worry too much. It's what you want to do is to grab your colour lifter. So this is the plain one. Now, because they're alcohol based, they'll push colour away. So if you just in one direction, push that colour towards the middle and here, and you'll find because it will push that way, it should actually take that colour away from the edge. If it sometimes bleeds then into your coloured area, that's fine, you can just go back over that, so don't worry too much. So just enjoy it, that's the main thing. So I'm just, again, this is light soft suede, and I'm going all over where I've done the dark as well, and paying particular attention to where they join. So where the dark and light joins, I'm just adding extra layers, and that will just make it blend really nicely. As I say, I'm not too worried about the detail on this one, because this is going to be my underneath. This is going to be the one that's on top. So I'm not too worried about the detail. I just wanted to lay down that colour. So that's the snout. The next thing I want to do is to do his actual shell, and I opted to use Granny Apple Green again on this, and because of it's got like a spiral to it, so I started off again with dark, and on each of the spirals I coloured the same edge, so it sort of looked like it was going round in like a circular fashion. And notice I'm just leaving those bits in the middle. I just realised I'm colouring on the wrong one, aren't I? It doesn't matter, he can be on top. That's what happens when you talk and colour at the same time. So now I'm just running over the whole thing, and again I'm just joining those two colours together, and I'm going light into these pieces in the middle as well. So I will go over and add some more dark to them in a second if they need it. Okay, so once you're happy that all those colours are blended together, that's absolutely fine. I'm now going to take, this is Mango Melody. So this is for the parcel. And again, I'm starting dark and then light. Some colours you will find will just naturally blend better than others. I don't know if it's the tones or the pigments, but some you will find will just colour and blend so much easier than others. And then for the top parcel, I am using Real Red. So again, I'm just going to start with my dark. Okay, So now what I want to do is to do my mushrooms. So these ones here I have done again in the mango. So this is to sort of bring all the colours in together really, so that they really sort of match each other nicely. Let's do them both at the same time. Okay, so that's that part done. I'm then going to do the red of the mushrooms. Now you do need to be a little bit careful of these, because obviously red is a very deep colour, so if you do go over the edges a little bit, it is quite obvious with the red, so you just need to be a little bit careful. And I've chosen to do the undersides of my mushrooms, the gills of the mushroom, in Crumb Cake on the red ones, but I did it on mango on those ones for the yellow. But you can do them red underneath if you like. So again, this is dark, real red. You could also use pencils or blender pens, whatever you wanted for this. I'm just using blends because I love the deepness of the colours that you get from these for this sort of stamp. Okay, I'm not going to put any more deep red on that just for a second. I'm just going to let it dry for a sec, because, as I say, it has a tendency to bleed the red. And notice I'm doing most of it in deep red. I'm not doing a great deal of it in the lighter. Okay, and then I'm just going to come back with a little bit more darker on the bottom of this one, and then again on here. As I say, it doesn't take long to dry, it just needs to evaporate, so you know, just by giving it those couple of seconds, it just gives it that opportunity so that it doesn't bleed. Okay, and then I'm moving on to Crumb Cake, and also my colour lifter for this one. So this is dark Crumb Cake. So I'm just going to put it towards those centre of those gills. I'm going to add some green onto the bottom of my mushrooms in a second. So this is just sort of the top and bottom of all the mushrooms and the undergills. And then take in my light one, just giving them a little blend together. I'm creating more of a shadow than and that sort of grey browny sort of colour you get from mushrooms, so I'm not being too precise with this because I want it to be sort of almost textured. I'm then going to take my colour lifter and then just blend them all together. The colour lifter almost acts like a bleach, so it almost sort of bleaches those colours down, but what it does do, it makes them blend really, really nicely together. And if you've got any sections that you think, oh, it's a little bit dark, you can actually sort of take it down a notch with the colour lifter. So again, just in the centre, top, The best thing is not to think about it too much, really. I think sometimes when we're colouring we overthink it, and especially when you're doing this sort of, it's not cartoon, but it's sort of an image that's sort of a fun image. Don't be too het up on the detail, really. Oops. And again, just colour lifter just to give that blend. So there we go. So that's all the colouring done on our snails. Now what I want to do, just bring that card in so you can see. On this middle mushroom here, I did just colour these leaves. So again, it's granny apple green, and I'm going kind of over the green area, but I just want to add detail. So I'm just adding some dark granny apple to the base of each leaf, and then I'm just blending it in very, very lightly. Again, don't overthink it, just give it a quick colour. Okay, so now that's done, what I need to do is to cut out my actual pieces. Now, there is actually some dies that come with this set. I haven't stupidly bought them yet, so I'm working with just the stamp set, so I have got to fussy cut these, but as I say, they are there is a die set that comes with them, which I will be purchasing, so you can sort of see how it sort of all comes together. So what I'm going to do first of all is I want to cut out the insides of my mushrooms here. So I'm just going to bring in a little cutting mat, and I'm using a craft knife for this, so I'm just literally cutting out those middle sections. If you make sure you've just got a sharp knife, then you shouldn't have any problems with this. Okay, and I'm just going to do that on both of my mushrooms. Oh, come here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut round these mushrooms here. Now you can leave them with a border if you want to, or you can cut right round the edges. It's entirely up to you. I'm cutting around the edges on this one. I did leave a very, very small border on the previous one, but what I want to do is stick it over the top. You'll see in a moment. And I want to just colour the bottom with some of the granny apple. So I'm just going to use the dark one for this. And just where those sort of little black lines are and the bits at the bottom, just going to add some more green. And whilst I'm there, I might as well do it on the other one. Okay, so this one is going to stick directly onto these mushrooms here. So I haven't done anything different with these. I've literally just cut them out. And I tend to use tweezers just because I find it easiest. So you can see now where I haven't left that border, it looks like the mushroom is sort of been coloured actually in its position, which is kind of what I wanted to achieve. I'm then going to cut out my whole snail. So again, if you want to leave a border, you can. I'm going to take the border off again. Okay, so I'm just going to add some dimensionals to the back of his body. Some tiny pieces just for his eyes. It's not tiny enough. You just heard that big sigh, that's my puppy. She's having a lovely sleep. Okay, so I'm just going to stick that to the main one. Fiddly little eye pieces here. Oops. It's just really to give it a little bit of support, so you know, don't worry too much. There we go. So again, I just want to position him, making sure that I line his eyes up. We don't want him going boss-eyed. There we go. That's lovely. So now I just want to glue him down. So I'm going a little bit over my mushrooms, but not too much. And he's just going to sit on top. And then I want to cut out these mushrooms. Now, can you see how I actually, this yellow one up here, I sort of cut off. So I'm going to take that off. Okay, so this one I sort of positioned sort of in here. Actually, can you see I've left the stalk from that middle one in there, so I just need to remove that. Okay, so this is going to stick here, and then this one I'm just going to pop in so that it sort of looks like it's coming out from behind. So I'll glue this one down first. So you put it sort of where you want it to go. So don't, you know, my card is just a guide really. I've leaked a little bit of glue there. That's it. And then this one. So it's just going to go up against that and then over the top. So it sort of looks like it's peeking from behind. So there we go. So now all we need to do is to add our greeting. Now, as I say, I used the you Snailed It because I thought that was quite a nice sort of little sentiment, really. It's quite funny. So I'm using black memento again for this. Just making sure it's got a nice covering of ink. And I popped it just in this bit here because I thought it sort of loaned itself to it, really. And then also the little heart. So again, I just need a scrap of Whisper White card. This little heart here. And again, I'm using real red for this. Say it's quite simple colour in this. It's quite good fun. It's you don't have to sort of think about it too much, which is nice. And then I'm just going to cut that heart out, and again I'm going to cut this on the line because that's what I've done throughout on these ones. And again, this is attached just using a little bit of dimensionals. I'm going to pop that just in there. See, I've just got a little white edge on there. So, okay, and then finally I added some little gems. So these are just our normal little gems that we use all the time. And it's just to add a little bit of bling. We all like a little bit of bling, don't we? Okay, so now what I need to do is bring my card base in. Just make sure it's the right way around. And I'm going to glue that in place. Okay, and the very last thing I did, I don't know how well you can see it, was I actually added some of our crystal effects to the eyes. So it just made them sort of stand out. So they're not quite googly eyes, but they're sort of similar really. So all I did was I've used, as I say, these are our shimmery crystal effects, and I squeezed and then pulled up, so it was like a nice bulbous sort of layer. and then just carefully tap it from behind, and it will just give you that sort of effect. There. So there you go. So that's our card for today. Obviously his eyes will go clear once they're dry. I hope you like that. It was certainly a little bit of fun that today. I thought we needed something that we've removed from Christmas, so now we're doing sort of some fun bits and pieces, and it's always nice to showcase some nice little new products. And as I say, this is the stamp set called Snailed It. It does have the dies to go with it, but unfortunately I haven't actually purchased those yet. But it does come as a bundle, so you get 10% off if you buy it as a bundle. So I hope you like that, and I will see you next week for another Monday Mashup. Take care. Bye.